Determining the correct breaker size for a hermetic compressor unit involves specific guidelines outlined in the National Electrical Code, specifically Section 440.22. This section addresses the requirements for motor compressor overcurrent protection. The approach to sizing the breaker is based on calculating 175% of the motor compressor's rated load current. This percentage provides the minimum required breaker size to handle the inrush current that occurs when the compressor starts, while still protecting the motor from overloads. To properly size the breaker, firstly, locate the motor compressor's rated load current, often abbreviated as RLA, on the unit's nameplate. This value represents the current the compressor draws during normal operation. Secondly, multiply the RLA by 1.75, which represents the 175% factor specified in NEC section 440.22. The result of this calculation gives the minimum ampacity required for the overcurrent protection device, which in this case is the breaker. Thirdly, select a standard size breaker that is equal to or greater than the calculated minimum ampacity. It's important to note that the breaker size should not be less than the calculated value. If the calculated value falls between two standard breaker sizes, the next larger standard size breaker should be used, provided it does not exceed the limit specified by the code. The nameplate amperage is crucial for identifying the RLA, but it's not used directly to determine the breaker size. Instead, the RLA is used as the basis for the 175% calculation. This method accounts for the higher current draw during startup, which is characteristic of hermetic compressor motors. It is important to understand the difference between the RLA and the maximum overcurrent protection, often abbreviated as MOCP, also found on the nameplate. The MOCP represents the maximum size breaker or fuse allowed for the motor compressor, but it doesn't override the 175% rule. The MOCP is a limit ensuring that the overcurrent protection device does not exceed the manufacturer's specified maximum. The use of the 175% rule ensures that the breaker will not nuisance trip due to the inrush current during motor starting. Hermetic compressor motors typically draw significantly higher current during startup compared to their normal running current. This inrush current can be several times higher than the RLA and can cause a breaker size solely based on the RLA to trip unnecessarily. The 175% factor provides a margin that accommodates this inrush current while still providing overload protection. It's also essential to consider the conductor ampacity when selecting the breaker size. The conductors supplying the motor compressor must have an ampacity sufficient to carry a load current. NEC section 440.33 specifies the requirements for conductor sizing. The conductors must have an ampacity of not less than 125% of the motor compressor's rated load current. This ensures that the conductors can handle the continuous load without overheating. To properly size the conductors, firstly, multiply the RLA by 1.25. This calculation provides the minimum required ampacity for the conductors. Secondly, select conductors with an ampacity equal to or greater than the calculated value, considering the conductor's insulation type and the ambient temperature. Thirdly, ensure that the conductors are properly protected by the breaker. The breaker size should not exceed the ampacity of the conductors. If the calculated breaker size based on the 175% rule exceeds the ampacity of the conductor size must be increased to match the breaker size. The NEC provides tables and guidelines for determining conductor ampacity based on conductor size, insulation type, and installation conditions. It is important to consult these tables to ensure that the conductors are properly sized. Another important consideration is the type of breaker used for motor compressor protection. Molded case circuit breakers are commonly used for this application. These breakers are designed to provide both overload and short circuit protection. However, some breakers are specifically designed for motor protection and may have different tripping characteristics. These motor protection breakers are designed to tolerate the high inrush currents associated with motor starting without nuisance tripping. It is important to select a breaker that is appropriate for the application. When installing the breaker, it is essential to follow the manufacturer's instructions and all applicable electrical codes. The breaker should be properly installed in a panel board or enclosure that is rated for the voltage and current. The breaker should also be properly labeled to indicate the circuit it protects. Regular inspection and maintenance of the breaker are also important to ensure its continued proper operation. Breakers should be periodically inspected for signs of damage or overheating. The connections should be checked to ensure they are tight and secure. Breakers should also be tested periodically to verify their tripping characteristics. In summary, correctly sizing a breaker for a hermetic compressor unit involves several steps. Firstly, identify the RLA and the unit's nameplate. Secondly, calculate 175% of the RLA to determine the minimum required breaker ampacity. Thirdly, select a standard size breaker that is equal to or greater than the calculated value. Fourthly, ensure that the conductors supplying the motor compressor are properly sized and protected. Fifthly, select a breaker that is appropriate for motor protection. Sixthly, install the breaker properly and follow all applicable electrical codes. Finally, regularly inspect and maintain the breaker to ensure its continued proper operation. By following these steps, electrical installations can ensure that the motor compressor is properly protected from overloads and short circuits. Understanding the relevant NEC sections, particularly 440.22 and 440.33, is crucial for ensuring compliance with electrical codes and safe operation of hermetic compressor units. Consideration must also be given to the ambient temperature in which the equipment operates. Higher ambient temperatures can reduce the ampacity of conductors, requiring the use of larger conductors to compensate. Correction factors are provided in the NEC tables for adjusting conductor ampacity based on ambient temperature. It's also important to consider the altitude at which the equipment is installed. At higher altitudes, the air is thinner, which can reduce the cooling effectiveness of the motor and other electrical components. Dirting factors may be required for equipment installed at high altitudes to prevent overheating. These dirting factors are typically provided by the equipment manufacturer. The type of enclosure in which the electrical equipment is installed can also affect its performance. Enclosures can trap heat, which can increase the temperature of the electrical components. Enclosures should be properly ventilated to allow heat to dissipate. The NEC provides guidelines for selecting enclosures based on the environment in which they are installed. Enclosures are rated for different environmental conditions such as wet locations, dusty locations, and hazardous locations. The appropriate enclosure should be selected based on the specific environmental conditions at the installation site. The grounding of the electrical system is also an important safety consideration. The grounding system provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, which helps to trip the breaker and clear the fault. The grounding system should be properly installed and maintained to ensure its effectiveness. The NEC provides detailed requirements for grounding electrical systems. These requirements cover the size and type of grounding conductors, the methods of connecting grounding conductors, and the grounding of equipment enclosures. Regular testing of the grounding system is also recommended to verify its integrity. The use of surge protection devices, also known as SPD, is another important safety measure. SPD protect electrical equipment from voltage surges caused by lightning strikes, utility switching, and other events. Voltage surges can damage or destroy electrical equipment. SPD divert the surge current away from the protected equipment and safely to ground. SPD should be installed at the service entrance and at downstream locations to provide comprehensive surge protection. The NEC provides guidelines for selecting and installing SPD. These guidelines cover the type of SPD, the location of the SPD, and the wiring of the SPD. Regular inspection and testing of SPD are also recommended to verify their continued proper operation. Another important aspect of electrical safety is arc flash protection. Arc flash is a dangerous phenomenon that can occur when a high-voltage electrical arc is created. Arc flash can cause severe burns, blindness, and even death. Arc flash protection involves implementing measures to reduce the risk of arc flash events and to protect workers who may be exposed to arc flash hazards. These measures include using arc-resistant equipment, implementing safe work practices, and wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, also known as PPE. The NEC and other standards provide guidance on arc flash hazard assessment and protection. The use of proper lockout/tagout procedures is also essential for electrical safety. Lockout/tagout procedures are used to energize electrical equipment before it is worked on. This prevents accidental energization of the equipment, which could result in electric shock or other injuries. Lockout/tagout procedures involve disconnecting the equipment from its power source, locking out the disconnect switch, and tagging the switch to indicate that the equipment is being worked on. Workers who are performing maintenance or repairs on electrical equipment should be trained in lockout/tagout procedures. Regular safety training is also essential for all workers who work with or around electrical equipment. Safety training should cover topics such as electrical hazards, safe work practices, personal protective equipment, and emergency procedures. Workers should be trained to recognize and avoid electrical hazards. They should also be trained to use electrical equipment safely and to follow all applicable safety procedures. Regular safety meetings should be held to reinforce safety training and to discuss any new safety concerns. Furthermore, regular inspections of electrical equipment and systems are essential for identifying potential hazards. Inspections should be performed by qualified personnel who are trained to recognize electrical hazards. Inspections should cover all aspects of the electrical system, including wiring, equipment, and grounding. Any identified hazards should be corrected promptly. The use of appropriate tools and equipment is also essential for electrical safety. Workers should use tools and equipment that are designed for the specific task they are performing. Tools and equipment should be properly maintained and inspected before each use. Defective tools and equipment should be removed from service. The proper selection and use of personal protective equipment, PPE, are also critical for electrical safety. PPE includes items such as safety glasses, gloves, and insulated clothing. The type of PPE required depends on the specific hazards present. Workers should be trained to select and use the appropriate PPE. Regular audits of electrical safety programs are also recommended to ensure their effectiveness. Audits should be performed by qualified personnel who are familiar with electrical safety standards. Audits should assess the effectiveness of the electrical safety program and identify any areas for improvement. The results of the audit should be used to make necessary changes to the program. It is also important to stay up to date on the latest electrical safety standards and regulations. The NEC is updated every 3 years, and it is important to be aware of any changes that may affect electrical safety practices. Other standards and regulations, such as those issued by OSHA, may also apply to electrical work. By staying informed about the latest standards and regulations, electrical installations can ensure that they are in compliance and that they are providing a safe working environment. In conclusion, electrical safety is a critical concern that must be addressed in all electrical work. By implementing a comprehensive electrical safety program, electrical installations can reduce the risk of electrical accidents and injuries. The program should include elements such as safety training, regular inspections, proper tool and equipment use, appropriate PPE, and adherence to lockout/tagout procedures. Regular audits of the program should be conducted to ensure its effectiveness. By prioritizing electrical safety, electrical installations can create a safe working environment for all workers. It's vital to remember that while these guidelines and percentages are important, local codes and regulations may have additional requirements or variations. Always consult with a qualified electrical inspector or engineer to ensure compliance with all applicable codes. Also, when working with electrical systems, safety is paramount. Always to energize circuits before working on them and use appropriate personal protective equipment. If you are not qualified to work on electrical systems, consult with a licensed electrician.